So you don't have to look at me too much during this talk. We're gonna do a little bit of PowerPoint, death by PowerPoint. So, and you're welcome to take any photographs if you want to. This was an actual conversation that I overheard. Person calling a founder in crypto and saying, I'm an executive coach and I would like to offer team coaching. And the person literally said, what team? We decentralized. And that was the end of the conversation. So I want you to meet Alice and Bob. Not our Bob, but Alice and Bob. Alice and Bob are the silent majority. Unlike what a lot of people say about them, and I've been to a lot of events where they've talked about, they're actually very woke. That's the latest term. They have a lot of concerns about their jobs and job security. Probably about 50% of them are in financial disaster if they've got a health problem or a car accident or anything like that, if they lose their jobs. They are very aware of the extent of surveillance technologies, and just as we just heard from Peter, I think the whole thing with Facebook did affect people, and if you would have read The Guardian, young people nowadays, actually over 60% of them said they wish social media had not been invented, and that is in the UK. They are also starting to realize that a lot of their data is being used everywhere by everyone, you know, the big data that everyone makes so much money off, and they are actually literally providing free labor and getting very little return. Free emails and so on, but not much. They're also really directly impacted by climate change. So they're the ones who actually have to get in the car and drive the family and deal with all the things that we see on television. So for them, it's not just some science debate, it's happening in their lives. And to add to that, they've got limited political influence. And they're worried about reinventing themselves. The great book, by the way, I recommend it. I got a newsletter from Singularity saying to the banks and all the financial institutions, hey, you can't continue. So it's like there's a lot of talk about, and everyone agrees that, yep, no, there's definitely going to be new ways of doing finance. So this is being acknowledged by everyone. Then the question is, why don't we have Black Friday events where they're all rushing into the space and into the token and blockchain economy? Well, we are the black sheep of the family. First impressions count. People still think that has to do with all sorts of other things. Never mind that recently a report came out that said like only 10% of transactions in this space has to do with crime. Fast forward from when it started, this is a chap that I found on the internet. He's an investor. He went all the way to China to go and find the company that he invested in, and he was a community ambassador. Couldn't find them. That's one of the places that he actually, where they're supposed to have an actual office, a very fancy office, and he was sort of a bit gobsmacked at that point. A wonderful, innovative model for funding developers, poorly executed, with a few free riders on trust, as we all know about. And then this. If you're a new person coming in, if you're Alice and Bob and you want to engage in this industry and you go on Twitter, well, boy, oh boy, does your hair get blown back quite a bit, or Telegram. It is a hostile environment, and for a person who's been involved for a while, since 2013, I'd say it's becoming rather unpleasant right now. Another problem. Very difficult for me to engage with this technology. I just hear about stealing things, people's money getting hacked. I need to figure out how to use MetaMask, etc. So very high personal risk. Of course, we have a predictable response. That is the report that came out from New York Attorney General. Very interesting report. And then something that really is obvious, that most of the problems in the world have nothing to do with technology. It's not about technology, it's really a governance problem. And if I'm Alice and Bob, I have to study like Einstein. I have to be like swatting up and reading all over the place and trying to figure out what is really happening, and technologies are changing. I struggle to keep up. I don't know how other people do. I struggle. And then if I do all of this, I ask the question, what is in it for me? For those of you who are actually in this space, you drink not out of one fire hose, so this is the challenge. So you all know about these problems. So we say, well, why aren't you addressing it? Well, this is what's going on. So if you are in this space, not only do you have to do what any other type of startup have to do, you also have to deal with regulations. You also have to deal with the fact that you have to constantly travel. You don't find talent in the space. Funding is drying up. You have to deal with communications. We have to deal with trolls, which most companies don't really have to worry. And there's just a whole list of things that people have to do. People working in the space, founders, I have great admiration for all of them because they really are just anti-fragile. That's the word to use. Community ambassadors. Well, they're the true believers, but they are overworked, burned out. They have to deal with community things. They often don't get paid for what they're doing. They are doing a lot of free labor as well because they really believe. They have to also make a living in this space. There's a whole lot of challenges that they experience. And then I'm asking you this. Think about the last time when you got a pitch deck, and think about your favorite project right now, and I dare you, go look at their website and see in that project what's going on. Marketing, funding and plans, yes. Education, some. And I'll say some because I'm quite passionate about learning and how we learn, and a few courses online is not education. Partner network, yes, we talk about that. Token economics, yes. Community strategy, I don't see too much about that. Developer user experience strategy, like what are the actual developers and users going to experience? I don't see that. A user adoption and metric strategy, nope. Talent and people strategy, nope. Founder teams, look at the founder teams. How many people on the founder teams are actually professional human resources experts or in people stuff? Nope. Advisors, how many advisors are experienced in human resources and people stuff? Nope. Meet the industry that you want to disrupt. They have a lot of money for people stuff. Executives go on retreats. They have coaches. They have funding. They have access, political influence. They have the top behavioral economics experts. They have top human behavior experts. That's why they're able to create all these products that make people so addicted to them. So these are the incumbents that we want to disrupt. That's sad. Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters. Who of you in this room are actually professionals in human resources? Can I get your hands up? You do. You're a leadership development expert, organizational change. Please don't be shy. We really need your hands up right now. Who of you are? One person? Please could you stand up so everyone look at that very special person at the back if you don't mind. There we go. They're the people that you're going to call. Right, here in Vancouver, thank you so very much. Here in Vancouver, what is your name? Stella. Stella, you all heard Stella. Again, from where?
I run my own consulting company.
And it's called? There we go. She knows Kalina. So just in Vancouver, we've got Jen Aberman. She's a counselor. Kalina Donald, who's a people experience expert. Myself, Dr. Martin Powell, who is an absolute risk expert. Rochelle Fairfield, who knows a lot about integral coaching and ethics and data. And MaRi Wayne, who's a digital transformation expert. What all of the people there in common are all professionals in terms of the people stuff. So, and knowing the space too. What do we do and why do we think this is important? We're currently doing, and I've been busy with this project for a year now, dedicated in this space, Web 3.0 leadership development. What do? We can help with community ambassador leadership programs. And I'm not just talking about us, I'm talking about people like Stella as well. I'm standing here on behalf of all of us, the people, the hobbits. The talent strategies, we can do founder leadership coaching. I would have been able to answer that question in like a second around why do you need coaching if you're decentralized. And self-sovereign leadership programs. We've done best practice research. We do consulting, design and facilitation, creating standards and accreditation for leadership development, and workshops and presentations. Why? This is a wonderful quote that comes from the book, The Starfish and the Spider, and I really recommend you read that if you want to explain what this industry can do. Don't start talking about the technology, tell them a really good story. It's a really good book to read to tell a really good story. But really, in a decentralized organization, you have to be influencing by leading by example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to share a bit of some of the best practices that I've been uncovering from people in this space. So I just want to set up some audio for you. I'm currently interviewing folks and I'm having leadership conversations with them. And I'm going to tell you which ones will be here. And I want you to listen and hear how they talk about money and technology. So, are you ready? Oh, must I press play? Okay. How do I find this? Ooh, this is a fancy device. I can't find it. You're going to have to come and help me. Sorry, everyone.
If you would teach a robot or artificial intelligence one thing, what would that be and why?
Yeah, maybe I'll teach the robot how to take care of my kids.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it's just in the moment, right? Yeah. I mean, I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old boys. So 2 boys, and the 4-year-old is at a stage, he started, become naturally curious about everything in the world. And being able to answer a lot of the questions, it's being able to answer those well. I think that's super helpful. I'm hoping to spend more time with my kids on, enjoying life and teaching him kind of life lessons. It's more kind of personal, other than like Wikipedia type of things. and then he can interact with the robot, right? Like, hey, what is why the bus has 2 sticks, on the wire? Like, what's happening there? Like, it's just those things you can just answer by the robot. That'd be cool.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
To almost in a way, same thing I teach my kids is that question everything. Even on a product standpoint, is keep on asking the question why. And that's if you should look at AI as this, I think it's about a toddler right now. AI is at the stage of a toddler. And when my kids were young, I think every single kid at around the same age starts asking why. And then they actually answer the questions, well, why? And maybe that's the question what I would teach AI is just keep on asking the question why. And maybe if you have the whole 5 whys principle of you make a statement and then come back and says why, and then you keep on going back and you get back down to what's really important. So maybe I would teach the AI to keep on asking why until somebody either gets fed up and turns off the machine, or there's a definitive response. But for the most part, you then get into something very philosophical, such as it's just right. Why should I do that? Well, it's the right thing to do. Once you get down to the right thing to do, or it's the wrong thing to do, then that's to be that answer that you hit at some point of. I know the massive philosophical question about, do you program an AI for a self-driving vehicle to save the occupants or crash into the crowd of people? And it's one of those things that I'd hate to be that person programming that software to make that call of, do you turn to the left and probably surely kill people, or you turn to the right into the brick wall and kill the occupants? Well, do you have a child on board? Maybe kill this person versus kill yourself. but all those types of decisions, AI would have to be able to make, but you have to be able to make it very, very quickly. So, yeah, I keep asking why, and hopefully I will, like my kids, I get bored and walk away. That's the eventual goal. I don't know. Tough question.
Personal freedom. If that could be taught to a robot or an AI, I would teach it that. So the importance of, yes, you can do all of these things for me, and you can do all of these things that I cannot do, and that doesn't equate to having control over me or having control over a species or having control over people to take power and take over and like have this new dominant species come in. And I think that having AI understand the importance of autonomy as a robot, as an AI or whatever it is, and as a human being is really important.
I would say every person you interact with should never be the same. That would be the one advice I would give that robot. That you can't just have a standard way you interact with everybody. You have to understand that some people are more extrovert, some of them more introvert. You know, I think sometimes people might take things the wrong way because they think but maybe they're just shy. And just get to know the person before you just go and pitch your product or pitch your idea or, you know, just come in front. Like, get to know who they are first. Yeah.
Again, so why is that important?
I think it's important because everyone's different, right? And we're trying to build an inclusive and diverse community, and we have to be acceptant of how other people view things and other people's viewpoints and other people's opinions, and that's what makes this place so great, and that's what I love about open source and the fact that it's just a big group of people contributing to one overall goal. And the worst thing you can do is say, no, these guys are wrong. Well, they have a point, you know. You have to see people's perspective. And of course, there's going to be people who debate very, very hard on things. That's what's driven our community so much to date. But at the same time, you have to respect people's opinions.
Teach empathy, learning right from wrong. I mean, a computer already knows a lot of facts, and it can look up facts from any network connection or be force-fed facts from a software update. It'll always know that 1 + 1 is 2, but it may not. Pardon me. It'll always know that 1 and 1 is 2, but it may not necessarily know why you are adding that 1 to that 1. What do the ones represent? Why am I just doing math here? Or maybe I'm adding to a bank balance. It's 1 Bitcoin plus another Bitcoin after the transfer, therefore the person has 2. Or maybe it's not technical at all, and it's one, I don't know, microorganism entering a biosystem. So the what is a 1, what is a 2, understanding the context of the facts will allow you to understand, I guess, right from wrong. Too often, people focus on the tech without focusing on the meat bags that surround it. Focusing on the desire to leave this world better than we found it. I would probably figure it. I have no idea how I would teach this artificial intelligence that, but if it is able to analyze its sensory inputs and not only identify what is happening around it, but what it can do to assist the humans around it in leaving the world a better place, I would figure out a way to teach that.
They're going to tell you that there are rules, and they're going to tell you that you have to follow all of those rules. And maybe sometimes you do. But even if a rule says not to, run the scenario anyway. Try it. Try to do something better. Always.
I love that.
I think that's important.
Yeah, it is.
I think that I am, in my nature, a rule breaker. I think that everyone that I hire is, in their nature, a rebel and a rule breaker and a dissident. Everyone that I love, because doing what we think we should do is boring and not fulfilling and not going to make anything better for everyone. And in order to make things better, in order to effect positive change, you have to be willing to break some rules. You have to be willing to turn your back on should.
Okay, I see another hashtag, turn your back on should. So what can we do to change, hang on, switched it off. What can we do to change the narrative? You know, that dark stuff that we saw earlier. First of all, is highlight the new narratives or get the narratives from the positive Mavericks out. So that's what I'm busy doing as I'm interviewing people, and I'm hoping to inspire all of you to start really engaging with people, not just talking about the tech, but having these type of real values, what is important for them conversations. To get you going, if you go to SoundCloud, you will see, if you type the blockchain executive, you will find the interviews. I'm posting them there. I highly recommend that you start a community of practice. I've created it. It's on blockchain radio. So every week we release a new episode. So people around 99 countries at the moment can listen to this and can actually engage and can have little communities of practice around it and talk about the people stuff. I also created on Medium a publication where people can actually access all of this information. So they can actually, you can sit anywhere in the world, read a chapter, and actually has instructions of resource material, leading best practices, informed by psychology. And this is now when I'll talk a little bit about myself. I've been doing this work for about 20 years. I am not only trained as a chartered accountant, but did a master's degree in leadership development and organizational behavior. I've done this work for large organizations, including Deloitte, created brand new leadership development systems. BC Liquor Distribution Board created a whole new leadership model for them, a distributed leadership model as well, a new performance management program. Mountain Equipment Co-op changed the whole way they do change management. So this comes from very deeply informed leading. This is really what works on the ground, not just in academic books. So on Medium, if you go to Medium, you look me up, you'll find it, and just look for the publication, and all the podcasts are also embedded there. So again, if you have community ambassadors, just send it to them and say, hey, why don't we all talk about X, Y, Z topics? Start with Rightmesh. John Loitier is all about courage and bravery. And, you know, it's just amazing things that you can learn by just talking to him around how do we maintain values. You can also follow me on Twitter, MaRi Eager. I'm busy writing a book, and as Emma said, I'll be gone for about 2 months. I hope to get a bit of that out, and then I'll publish that as well. And if you want to participate, please join us, and please start valuing the people stuff. As you all know, it was The Hobbit. People say to me, why do we need the people stuff? Why do we need to talk to people to talk about peace and how we relate to each other and how we interact? Why do we need people who can understand how to manage conflict and mediate? And my simple answer is that it was a hobbit. We needed hobbits, and it was a hobbit that held the future of civilization in his hands, not all the soldiers and warriors. Thank you very much for the opportunity and listening.